McMahon is back. Roman Reigns versus Triple H is the headline of WrestleMania. Triple H is your champion. Roman Reigns is your challenger. When Roman Reigns probably should be the champion, and Triple H should be the challenger, with Triple H coming away victorious, especially with now how Shane McMahon wants control of Monday Night Raw. I think the follow to WrestleMania makes more sense with Triple H, say, retaining or becoming champion at WrestleMania, and then Shane McMahon has control of WWE, and then Triple H uses the fact he's champion as an excuse to keep his job for both himself and Stephanie, and then a storyline is derived from Triple H, say, still being champion, and then Shane McMahon is hell-bent on taking the title away and off of Triple H and making Triple H and Stephanie's lives a living hell along with their father. I mean, that would be an amazing storyline to see if anything happened in that regard. But really, this match between Brock Lesnar and Dean Ambrose makes no sense to me at all, and ultimately, I think at the end of the day, if it were to determine the number one contender for the title to face the winner of Triple H and Roman Reigns at a later date, say the following pay-per-view like Extreme Rules or Payback, it would make more sense to me. But because there's no significance on this match, its purpose really has been defeated, and I think this match has more room for criticism than it does actually being put over. At one point in time, I said, fucking awesome, this match is happening. Dean Ambrose is going to benefit. Even if he had his ass handed to him by Brock Lesnar, he would get a standing ovation, like many people trying to get in their lives. I mean, who out there doesn't want to get a standing ovation? And it's always been said over the years, I know this to be true because I profiled it more than once throughout my life, being a fan of wrestling and profiling it for a number of years. There's more pride in losing a match than there is winning a match. I mean, who wants to win matches all the time? I'd rather lose in my final match if I'm a legend than win, because who wants to go out on top? I mean, that's just a lackluster way and a lazy way, really, of going out as champion and winning virtually every match you're in, either as a wrestler or a boxer, is really pathetic. I mean, who's to say, losing, there's more pride in losing. Losing is not really always a bad thing. There's more pride in losing than there is winning matches all the time. And really, if I was a legend, having my last match, I think I would want to lose more so than going out on top with a victory, because that's pretty decisive, and that's pretty just a lackluster and lazy way of going out. I mean, we've seen some of the top names go out as winners, and it's made no sense. It's made more sense to lose. I mean, at least within the last 10 years, ever since Steve Austin lost to The Rock in their third encounter at WrestleMania, it's made more sense to me, at least for the last 10 through 12 years, and I think it would make more sense for Dean Ambrose to come out on the losing end of this, because he would eventually benefit by becoming Mr. Money in the Bank or champion at some point in 2016, which I still believe has a chance of happening. Like I believe that we haven't seen the last of Sting wrestling. I think we're going to be seeing that happen very soon in the very near future. Even if it happens 6 months from now, it eventually will happen 6 months to a year. And I think we still haven't seen the last of the chance of Dean Ambrose becoming champion. It'll all come down to how he performs in this match with Brock Lesnar. And like I said, the one thing you have to keep in mind is the fact there's no shame in losing a match as there is winning. I think there's more shame in winning all the time because you're just handed everything. And so many people have been handed everything in professional wrestling. Dean Ambrose is the prime example of a guy who has scratched his way to the top. And he scratched his way to the top, and he's in the position that he's in for good reason. It's because he's worked so hard and he's waited years for this opportunity to come by him. And he's taking this opportunity. He's really reaching up and grabbing the proverbial brass ring. I know that's been said so many times over the years, but when you reach up and grab that proverbial brass ring, you know you are making something of yourself. And I think Dean Ambrose is realizing his time to grab that ring is now, and I hope he takes full advantage of it in this match with Brock Lesnar, win or lose. This match could be the highlight of the night because of its brutality that we could see. It has a lot of ways it could go. I just mentioned the pops of Mick Foley and Terry Funk making appearances in the match in support of Dean Ambrose. That's one way of looking at it. Dean Ambrose could go out on his own, wanting no help from anybody. People could come out that we wouldn't even think would come out to assist people like Dean Ambrose. There's a chance the Wyatts could make an appearance in this match, because keep in mind, unless they're involved in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, the Wyatt family are not on the card this year for WrestleMania. They're not even on the pre-show, so they could make an appearance in this match, and this is how Brock Lesnar and Braun Strowman could be derived from what happens in this match. They come out and they help Dean Ambrose. Even if Dean Ambrose aligned himself with the Wyatt family and became their fifth member, Dean Ambrose would win. So the Wyatts are not really factoring into WrestleMania, even if they are in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. It would just be an appearance. So I think that, they have to factor in somehow, especially with how these tours are promoting Brock Lesnar seeking retribution against the Wyatt family. So the Wyatt family had to factor in somehow. There are a lot of ways this can go. Pops from Mick Foley, Terry Funk, the Wyatts showing up, getting an appearance in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal is kind of lackluster for them. You would expect them to be in a match, even if all four of them were in an 8-man tag team match against the opposition of, say, Sin Cara and Stardust. It would actually just be a match for them. But I think they need to get the Wyatts fights in there somehow because they have to have more significance than what they do. And this is how Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar could be derived. And something could happen that we least expect could happen in this match. Again, there are a lot of ways this one could go, but something, in my opinion, has to happen to make this match look a lot more better than what it does on paper. I think this match really puts me in mind of WrestleMania 22. When all the last-minute stipulations were thrown on matches like Shawn Michaels versus Mr. McMahon and Mark Henry versus The Undertaker out of nowhere. Matches became street fights and casket matches, and Money in the Bank ladder matches were just thrown together for the purpose of making the matches look better on the card. I mean, a week before WrestleMania 22, a week to 2 weeks, we had the match between Shawn Michaels and Vince McMahon made a street fight. Someone explained that to me, and then we had a match between Mick Foley and Edge all of a sudden become a hardcore match, which was really a match that stole the show because of the hardcore stipulation. They knew what they were doing, having the last-minute stipulations put on matches like casket matches, hardcore matches, street fights. But that's really what this puts me in mind of WrestleMania 22 from 2006, and that's a difference of about 10 years. And 10 years later, not much has changed. These last-minute stipulations seem to be what's factoring in to make matches look better than they already have been looked at on the WrestleMania card. I mean, they look better with the stipulations. I'll give WWE credit for having done that, but storyline-wise, will this benefit us 6 months from now? Will we be talking about how WrestleMania was an incredible show and worth the money that we paid and sacrificed to watch WrestleMania and to be a part of, or will we be saying that WrestleMania was a disaster? I think at this point in time, the way things are looking and shaping up for WrestleMania, it's pretty much a clusterfuck and more of a disaster story, a disaster profiling that we're going to be talking about 6 months from now, and how we wished WrestleMania 32 could have been better than what it was. I mean, Sting should be headlining WrestleMania this year, not going in the Hall of Fame. Sting should be headlining WrestleMania this year against The Undertaker. I mean, when you talk about The Undertaker retiring and how he's contemplating retiring should he lose this match to Shane McMahon, you can't honestly tell me that Shane McMahon is the final opponent of The Undertaker and the best you have for The Undertaker to face at WrestleMania. Out of everyone you could have put The Undertaker in the ring with, from Kane to Sting, and with how everybody wanted to see The Undertaker versus Sting, this is the best you have for The Undertaker to fight fucking Shane McMahon in his final match. Someone please explain to me the psychology of this and how this is going to factor into the storylines and make it actually worth watching throughout the remainder what we have left in 2016, because it makes no sense to me at all. I mean, WrestleMania has obviously been haunted by all these injuries of John Cena, Randy Orton, Seth Rollins, Sting, and like I said, people like Sting and John Cena should be headlining WrestleMania this year. I mean, any match we could offer in our heads to WWE Creative with top matches like Roman Reigns versus Triple H or The Undertaker versus Shane McMahon, even the ladder match with the 7 wrestlers. And at this point in time, the ladder match with the 7 wrestlers like Stardust, Sami Zayn, Dolph Ziggler, and The Miz looks a lot better than a match like Shane McMahon versus The Undertaker, and probably the matches that we'll be talking about at WrestleMania will be anything outside of Dean Ambrose versus Brock Lesnar or Roman Reigns versus Triple H. At this point in time, it wouldn't surprise me none. And you're going to be hearing a lot of my thoughts on the fallout of WrestleMania 32 from my WrestleMania Fallout shoot video this year like I did last year. And I would imagine I'm going to come away from WrestleMania 32 more disappointed than I am actually satisfied with what WrestleMania will ultimately give us, which really, from this point of view, a week before WrestleMania doesn't look like it's going to be much. So don't be surprised if I'm full of criticism less than 24 hours after WrestleMania when I drop my WrestleMania 32 Fallout shoot video from my YouTube channel at Jonathan Clarke 22, which, by the way, you guys can subscribe to and get in on the conversation about. Over 2,000 videos uploaded with over 60,000 channel views. You can subscribe to my conversation about any of the videos that I've thrown up and leave me your comments in the comment sections for any video that you're listening to on my YouTube channel. You can also tweet me on Twitter with your opinion, hashtagging a match that you're talking about or a situation at Jonathan Clarke 1. And, of course, you can get in touch with me also on Facebook at HEW Entertainment. Really, anything we're talking about is up for conversation on my Twitter at Jonathan Clarke 1, and this week I'm talking about Dean Ambrose versus Brock Lesnar, which I am anything but impressed by. It's a far cry from what I thought this feud was going to be and what the purpose of the feud actually was, and I'm still trying to figure out what the purpose of the feud is. I think I can draw a conclusion, although not entirely, that the feud's purpose is to push someone like Dean Ambrose. This has to be the way it's going, because there's really no purpose unless Brock Lesnar is going to whoop the ass of Dean Ambrose, and Dean Ambrose is going to benefit from having his ass handed to him by Brock Lesnar, as Brock Lesnar has done many times, and people have gotten standing ovations for having guts enough to get in the ring with Brock Lesnar. You have to give Dean Ambrose guts and credit where credit is due. I mean, not many people would sign on for a match with Brock Lesnar, but Dean Ambrose is showing that he is fearless and not afraid of Brock Lesnar. He's come out week after week and got in the face of Brock Lesnar, and now he's getting what he's asking for. He even went as far as to challenge Brock Lesnar a couple of weeks ago on Raw on the, I think it was the 22nd of February, Dean Ambrose issued a challenge to Brock Lesnar for a match. At WrestleMania, Brock Lesnar was kind of hesitant first, and then Paul Heyman accepted the match on his behalf, and it's been craziness ever since between Brock Lesnar and Dean Ambrose on social media. If you haven't seen any of the videos of these brawls, it really defines what we can expect to see in this match. And if these brawls on social media are any indication that have been posted on sites like Facebook, Twitter, and especially Instagram, then we are in for a hell of a match between Dean Ambrose and Brock Lesnar. Creatively and storylines, not so much, but in the way of a brawl, if this is what this is going to be, if these posts on social media have been any indication, these threats, these videos that have been Instagrammed and tweeted out, we are in for a hell of a match. And that's what I'm the most excited for, to find out who's going to win, who's going to lose, who's going to come out victorious, and who's going to come out triumphant the way of standing ovations. Let me say this, regardless if he wins or loses, you have to give Dean Ambrose credit where credit is due, because not many people will be doing what Dean Ambrose is doing now. He lost the Intercontinental title when he should be chasing after that Intercontinental title and Kevin Owens. He's going after Brock Lesnar, so that leads me to believe that promising things are ahead for Dean Ambrose, because I still believe that we're going to be seeing him champion sometime in 2016. And if you don't believe me, go back to the Royal Rumble when it came down to himself and Triple H, and look at the reaction that the fans gave Dean Ambrose when they realized he had a chance of going all the way. The Royal Rumble 2016 match, the results of it told me a lot. Yeah, Triple H came away as champion, but when we realized Dean Ambrose had a chance of winning the championship and holding both the WWE and Intercontinental Championships at the same time, like the Ultimate Warrior, I mean, Dean Ambrose could have pulled an Ultimate Warrior, and why he didn't